Welcome back everyone to our latest episode. I'm Anna and I'm excited to explore today's powerful topic that aligns with International Women's Day and Human Rights Day, which we celebrate this month. We want to take this opportunity and talk about risk-taking as a woman. Joining me today are my co-host Alex and our podcast guest Martie.
Hi everyone. Let's explore how taking risks plays a significant role in influencing the course of women's advancement in terms of equal rights and social roles.
Throughout history, women have encountered systemic challenges and societal limitations. The suffragette movement in the early 20th century is a clear example of women bravely taking risks to ensure their right to vote. These trailblazers questioned the established order and endured difficulties to create a path for future generations.
The same goes for everyone who fought against apartheid. Human Rights Day in South Africa has its origin in the Sharpeville massacre in 1960, when 69 people were killed by the police and many more were injured for protesting against the pass laws. These people protested against discriminatory social treatment, which was purely based on their skin color. Jumping to the present, women, members of formerly disadvantaged communities and minorities still encounter inequalities in economic opportunities. Taking on risks has played a crucial role in confronting these disparities and promoting economic empowerment. Additionally, in the field of human rights, women frequently find themselves leading advocacy efforts to bring about societal transformation. Today, we'll explore the narratives of brave individuals who dare to challenge oppressive systems and strive for the rights we now benefit from.
Let's dive deeper into the stories of three extraordinary women who not only broke barriers but also redefined societal norms through their bold and courageous risk-taking.
Beate Uhse, for example, was passionate about flying and became one of the few female transport pilots during World War II. Quite an achievement in itself. But after the war, she was forbidden from flying and started selling products door to door to support herself and her young son, because her husband had died in an airplane crash. She listened to the complaints of many housewives about getting pregnant from their husbands who were returning from the war, even though there was no space or income to feed more mouths. So she did her research and started challenging prevailing sexual stereotypes in post-war Germany by selling informative brochures about sexual health and preventing pregnancies. And this was only the beginning. In a conservative era, she established the world's first sex shop in 1962 and launched a mail-order business for contraceptives and later sex toys, addressing a taboo topic and making a significant contribution to sexual health awareness. Beate took great risks in doing so, as she faced great adversaries and social ostracizing, as she was indicted over 2,000 times in the next 30 years. Her ventures were not just business initiatives, they were acts of rebellion against societal norms, encouraging a more open and liberated conversation about sexuality.
The story of Marie Curie is a story of rare scientific brilliance and unwavering determination. In a time when women encountered systemic obstacles in academia, Madame Curie's groundbreaking research on radioactivity earned her 2 Nobel Prizes. She dared to challenge the prevailing gender norms, taking risks to become the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the only individual to achieve this accolade in 2 distinct scientific fields. Madame Curie's legacy goes beyond her scientific accomplishments. She is an icon of resilience and pioneering courage.
And let's not forget the amazing women we have here in South Africa. Thuli Madonsela, for example. We all know her name from the time she served as public prosecutor from 2009 to 2016. She wrote the infamous report on Jacob Zuma's spending of taxpayers' money. For that, she received much criticism from ANC members and was heavily attacked in public. But she did not give in, and her work ethic and dedication to truth has brought credibility back to the office of public prosecutor. Thuli has been involved in community and social justice issues since the 1980s, and as a human rights lawyer and expert on equality and policy, she was even part of the team that drafted the country's constitution in 1996. She drew up many statutes and was the co-architect of the policy framework that formed the basis of the Ministry for Women, Children and People with Disabilities.
These strong women embody the spirit of risk-taking in challenging societal norms. Through their courage and resilience, they not only carved paths for themselves, but also left indelible marks on the ongoing struggle for gender equality and women's rights.
Now let's get real and personal. Today we have a special guest with us, Martie. She's here to share her powerful story about navigating through a challenging marriage that began when she was very young.
Hi, thank you both for having me. It's not an easy story to tell, but I very much hope it helps anyone out there.
We really appreciate that you're willing to share your story, Martie. I think it's very important. So let's start at the beginning. You got married quite young, correct? What led you to get married at such a young age?
To be completely honest, I had no idea what real love was. I was very naive. The first error in judgment I made was the fact that a popular guy was interested in me. Well, me, an introvert, down to earth. I felt flattered and important in society, somewhat, for the first time in my life. And I'd mistaken this feeling for love, which it was not. Secondly, I grew up in a culture where the religion which I belonged to was assumed for me. One of the rules of my religion, or previous religion, was to marry out of the house. So in other words, one is not allowed to move in together with your partner prior to a marriage, as it was regarded as sin. I was 24 years old when I got married, and thinking back, it almost felt like I did what I thought I had to do. According to my indoctrinated beliefs, which was to marry a man who was interested in me, take care of him, have children at the age of 27, which was apparently the ideal age. So in a nutshell, I felt wanted, and as an empath, subconsciously I thought I had found my purpose in life. To take care of someone, and again, that is a mistaken feeling of romantic love. A psychologist once said to me that I need to break the cycle of trying to save all the broken winged birds. It is not my responsibility to save them. I can care for them and love them, but I must put myself first before another.
And when did you start realizing that there were financial issues in your marriage?
The financial issues were not the core problem within the marriage initially, but indeed a crippling factor. About 2 years after we got married, I realized he wanted the newest and best gadgets, brand name clothing, and he would go into debt to get what he desired. So each to his own, and we kept our finances separate. I trusted him to be responsible with half of our commitments, but one day he came home and said he'd quit his job, and I realized he had a lot of debt, and I would need to make plans very quickly until he gets another job. But he became severely depressed, which did not help with the job hunting process. He could not cope with life, and what was happening is I therefore had to try and cover all our expenses, and was inevitably forced to max out all I had. Any wife would do this for a husband, I suppose, but he also relied on me and expected me to save us. Thus, I had to take out personal loans to cover the rent and all the other commitments. This was where the financial issues truly got out of hand.
So it sounds like his decision had a direct impact on both of your money. How did your story continue?
Well, he eventually found a job, and I drew up a plan for us to recover financially, to get out of debt and clear our names. But then he would not stick with the plan and purchase stuff for himself with our food money. I was expected to understand and make a plan. So indirectly, I was forced to squeeze the last drop out of my salary to take care of us and repay the loans from the period when he was without a job.
That must have been incredibly tough for you. How did it affect your daily life?
I basically had to take on the role of the man as well. One day, he started crying because banking institutions and people were chasing him for money, and he didn't know what to do. So I offered to help again, and I drew up spreadsheets, budgets, and told him that if he wanted me to help and solve this for him and for us, I would need to know how much he earns and would need us to work together. So to pay and use both of our salaries as per the spreadsheet and the budgets I'd set up, he agreed and committed. It didn't play out as hoped again, and he became despondent. I kept trying and trying. I was someone who just didn't want to stick to the plan. The plans were for both of us, and we agreed upon it. But, when you try to help someone and it gets thrown back into your face, you reach a point where you cannot anymore. I also fell into a depression. I became skinny and unhealthy.
Many people might find themselves in a similar situation without even realizing it. What advice would you give to someone who feels financially trapped?
Well, I believe women are quite aware and instinctual beings and will know deep down when things are not right, not healthy, and perhaps destructive. We just sometimes don't listen to our gut. We should, though, because it helps you to recognize and acknowledge the signs earlier. We should learn to be honest with ourselves. I knew the relationship was unhealthy in more ways than one. I thought I could save the situation and help him with his inner wounds and struggles, almost be the person who saves him from himself. But soon learned that each person has a responsibility towards themselves and others. It was not my responsibility to be a psychologist. If you find yourself in such a predicament, speak to a few objective parties, preferably a therapist, because you are sometimes so caught up in everything and unable to be objective of what is really happening. You need to hear from other people what they think about your situation and consider what they are saying and truly reflect on it. Also, always try and stay financially independent. Love yourself enough to give yourself and your children, if you have any, the option to step out and start over.
Absolutely. Please tell us about the moment you decided to take control of your life. What triggered that decision?
It was an accumulation of events. Besides the lies about where and with whom he spent his time, and screaming at me when I questioned things that obviously didn't make sense, the cherry on top was one day he stole my credit card from my drawer and spent all my savings. I was saving money to travel abroad to visit my brother. There I was done. I was slowly dying inside and finally realized it.
Now, leaving such a situation is undoubtedly challenging. Can you walk us through the process of rebuilding your life after leaving your husband?
I left everything to him, the house and everything. I wanted him to be able to continue his life as is, especially after him threatening me that he would take his own life if I were to leave. I had a job, but the salary was very basic. I could afford rent, fuel, and very limited amount of food. That was it. It was one of the most difficult things I had to do, but I knew I had to put my big old panties on and man up. I was determined to survive and start a new life. Trying to be positive and stay positive, I tried making life interesting by resuming one of my favorite pastimes. I had some pencils and paper, and I made sketches in the evenings when I had nothing to do. I walked to shops and enjoyed the fresh air to save on fuel to buy bread and milk. Without a washing machine, I washed my clothes with my hands and bought long life milk since I did not have a fridge. Can go on, but in essence, looking back, it was the most liberating time in my life. I learned so much about life, about myself and others during that difficult time. We as humans are more resilient than we realize.
That takes incredible strength and must have felt like taking quite a risk. What advice would you give to others who might be contemplating leaving a similar situation?
Don't be afraid to take the leap. It's scary, but staying in a toxic situation is worse. And it only gets worse with age. If you are stuck in a situation where there is manipulation and inevitably somebody who is controlling you, you will always be at the mercy of their decisions. And that is just a very risky position to be in. Seek support from your friends, family, or professionals. You will need to rebuild your life. And yes, it's going to feel daunting and immensely scary. But you can do this at your own terms. Do your best never to allow anyone to put you in a situation that weakens your position in life. If someone expects you to make debt for them in your name, think twice. Think 5 times. Somebody who truly loves you will not put you in that position and will not manipulate you into feeling bad.
And what is a life lesson that you have learned that you particularly would like to share with our listeners?
I've learned the importance of financial independence. Never let someone have control over your money. It's not just about financial stability, it's about preserving your self-worth and dignity. I've also learned the importance of getting to know myself, to know what I like and dislike, what I want and I don't want. This is so important in order to set boundaries, and boundaries are crucial as it helps you to retain a sense of personal space and identity. My art teacher gave me a book years ago about boundaries, and I only later realized how to implement it. This was one of the most valuable takeaways for me after everything that happened. I would also encourage women to really start thinking for themselves Contemplate and reflect on life. Don't be afraid to question things and decide what is your truth. Get to know yourself so well that even if your relationship is turned around, you will be a woman who can think and decide for yourself. And read books. It empowers you and exposes you to others' experiences.
Are there any specific things that you would avoid in the future due to the experiences you had?
Well, keep a savings account separate from your relationship. And if your gut tells you to keep this account a secret from your loved ones, then listen to your gut. I was naive and thought I could trust my husband with all my heart to find out about the cheating, the lies, and the list goes on. I had a rude awakening. I will never become completely dependent on someone again. I made this promise to myself the day I left the marriage. I listen to my gut now and avoid suppressing my instinct. I will never allow abuse again, whether it be financial, manipulation, emotional, or physical abuse. Distinguishing between an argument and abuse, or what is true or merely a projection on you, can be tricky, because this is where you need help and need to be vulnerable enough to ask for objective opinions from a therapist, preferably. I also promised myself to not let my experience be a measure of upcoming romantic interactions. I'm thankful for what I've learned. My senses are stronger, and now I understand what love is and what it's not. Carl Gustav Jung said the following about love: "Where love reigns, there is no will to power, and where the will to power is paramount, love is lacking."
Martie, I'm really touched by the last thing you said. This resonates. And I would really like to thank you for sharing your story with us. We really hope that it touches our listeners and encourages those who may be facing similar challenges.
Now let's talk about a game-changing moment in our lives where risk-taking has shaped us. Anna, do you want to start?
So there was this moment, a bit like one of those movie scenes, where I decided to ditch my regular job and dive headfirst into freelancing. It was a really wild move. It threw me into the unpredictable world of creating multiple income streams. And honestly, at the time, it felt like I was doing a bungee jump without knowing when I'd hit the ground. It was terrifying, but also exhilarating. Leaving the comfort of a steady job was like walking a tightrope without a safety net. Scary, absolutely. But guess what? It turned out to be the best plot twist in my professional story. Working from home became my new normal, giving me the freedom to shape my work environment around my lifestyle. And let me tell you, it wasn't just about being happier. It was a financial jackpot I didn't see coming. Freelancing magic, flexibility. I dipped my toes into various projects, juggling multiple income streams that over time proved to be a genius move. And get this, I can literally work from anywhere. Bali suddenly is not just a dreamy holiday location, it's a legit option as my workplace. Looking back, I'm all about appreciating the freedom that comes with taking a leap of faith. Working from home, enjoying a life that's not a perpetual rush, and watching my bank account grow have been constant reminders that taking risks, even when it feels like a roller coaster, can pay off big time. It's like taking the steering wheel of my professional life and enjoying the ride, tenfold rewards and all. Now that's a story worth telling. But trust me, it did not come without tears and jolts of fear. How about you, Alex?
I've been adventurous all my life and done quite a few things others would consider risky, but to me they always felt like an urge, something I had to do if I wanted to be happy. Sometimes I wasn't even fully aware of the consequences if things had gone wrong. For example, after my studies in Germany, there was an economic crisis and no one wanted to hire someone fresh out of uni. I managed to get an internship in South Africa through a former student at my university, and I said yes to moving to a country I literally knew nothing about. South Africa had never been on my radar, not in history lessons in school or otherwise. But after a year, I liked it so much I decided to stay, with very little money and 1 year of work experience to my name. Again, I managed to find work in the hospitality sector, work out my visa situation, and started a new life here. After 2 years, I got depressed because work was monotonous, and if there is something I cannot stand, it is boredom. However, it did take therapy to figure that one out. So I quit my stable job to become a freelance translator. It took a lot of legwork to establish myself, but I've never looked back. Being my own boss gives me all the freedom and independence I need. 2 things that are very important to me, including in relationships. So I've always kept finances and home separate in every relationship I had. Now for me, The risk I took, that actually felt like a terrifying risk, is something that most people look forward to, and that was moving in with my partner. It hasn't been easy letting someone into my space, but it's going much better than I expected. And yes, it has been a learning curve, but it has brought about personal growth and brought my partner and myself closer together, something I really would not want to miss.
Before we wrap up today's episode, let's tackle a crucial topic: why it is essential to encourage more women to take risks in their professional and personal lives.
The comfort zone is cozy, but it's where dreams go to hibernate. Encouraging women to step outside this comfort zone is important. When we take risks, we challenge ourselves, break barriers, and discover untapped potential.
Diversity is not just a buzzword, it's a necessity. By encouraging women to take risks, we contribute to a more diverse and inclusive professional landscape. Diverse perspectives drive innovation and lead to more balanced decision-making.
Life throws curveballs, and taking risks is like flexing our resilience muscles. Encouraging women to navigate uncertainties builds resilience, a quality that's invaluable both personally and professionally.
And the ripple effect extends to future generations. When women boldly navigate uncharted territories, they become role models for younger generations, inspiring them to dream big and embrace challenges.
Now let's zoom into the realm of finance and investments. Historically, the world of investments has been portrayed as a male-dominated area. However, more and more women explore the world of investments as a professional career and on a personal level, and thus break these old narratives.
The rise of female-led fintech companies reflects a growing trend of women playing significant roles in shaping the financial technology landscape. Look at Tesla and SpaceX. There are a lot of female leaders employed if you can manage to look past Elon Musk.
And women-led investment groups and educational initiatives focused on financial literacy for women are on the rise, providing platforms for shared knowledge and fostering a supportive community. This helps women to navigate the complexities of investment, to make informed decisions and embrace the risks associated with investing.
Taking risks in the realm of finance is not just about wealth creation. It's a pathway to financial independence. Studies have shown that women on average tend to be more successful investors. They're not risk-averse, as it is often believed, but more risk-aware, carefully considering potential risks and rewards.
What's more, women are increasingly drawn to impact investing, aligning financial goals with social and environmental causes. Contemporary trends show that women are more likely to engage in sustainable and socially responsible investing, considering the broader impact of their financial decisions.
So as we sail through the vast sea of finance, it is pretty clear women aren't just along for the ride. They are steering the ship, shaping the future of investments. So join us for a deep dive into tales of financial resilience, savvy risk-taking, and witness how women are constantly evolving in the dynamic world of money.
With more women on board, we also get a broader spectrum of perspectives in terms of approaching current issues. So let's not just encourage women to take more risks. Let's use their insights and strength to build a future that's innovative and strong enough to handle any future problems.
Hallelujah to that. Time to kick those stereotypes to the curb, appreciate the strengths women bring to the table, and create an environment where everyone feels excited to take bold steps. Thanks for spending time with us on this insightful journey, and thank you, Martie, for sharing your story. Until next time, stay empowered, stay courageous, and be brave. Always remember, you are a
Money Magnet!